So I just wanted to give a little more of the realistic side of what it's like being a digital nomad. I've been living the digital nomad life for the last 5 years, and as great as it's been, I'm so sick and tired of it, if I'm being honest. And I think if you look online, you'll constantly see a bunch of people hyping this lifestyle up, how great it is, how you get to travel and visit all of these places. But I don't think they ever really touch on the negative aspect of living this life. I'm not gonna lie, I've been able to see a bunch of different countries, experience a lot of different cultures, but there's one thing that I think will deter most people from really enjoying this lifestyle, and that is the loneliness. After everywhere that I've traveled, I've learned that no matter where you go, it's very hard to establish relationships and community with people if you're only going to be there for a short period of time. That's why it's always so funny to me when a lot of these passport bros talk about going to all of these countries and dating all of these women, because yeah, it's cool if you want to meet a girl where you can hang out with maybe a week or two at a time, and that's all great, right? But I think most people at the end of the day want something more serious, a long-lasting relationship, and it's very difficult to establish that when you're constantly on the road. This was a fatigue that I really felt after my first year in Colombia, because Medellin is getting super hyped right now. And there's a lot of people that love going there, saying all these amazing things about Colombia, but at the end of the day, I always felt in the back of my head that I was always an outsider. And even though I spoke really good Spanish by the end of it, I knew deep down in my heart that I would never belong and that they would always treat me as a foreigner. When I was exploring through my 20s, I tried a lot of different careers and I traveled a lot through the world. I think this is a very important experience for most people because you get to learn a lot about yourself, but also it gives you a lot more data points to develop your opinions about life, right? I think one of the big problems about Americans is that when we look outside of our window, we see ourselves, we only see America, and our whole entire world revolves around us. But when you travel to other places in the world, particularly Asia and Europe, you realize that there's actually other countries and other people and other things going on that we have to pay attention to. In the US, because we are geographically isolated from everybody else, we never really pay attention to what's going on in the world. That's, I think, the primary benefit of being a digital nomad, is being able to go to a different place, see how other people live life. I think this is a very common experience for most people, that once you see how life is lived in other places around the world, it kind of makes you question everything that you know and you think and all the opinions that you've held. And I think this is actually very important, which is something I really admire about Europeans or Australians, is that it's almost encouraged that after you graduate high school, you take a year off to go travel the world so you have a better perspective on life. You also really appreciate the privileges that come with growing up in a first world country. I think of a lot of Americans are so miserable and complain about everything, thus the term first world problems, because they don't have any other data points or perspective to really compare their life with. Once you go to Colombia or Southeast Asia, these poorer countries, and you see how there are so many people in the world that live on $400 a month, $500 a month, you really reconsider everything going on in your life, and you're like, you know what? Honestly, my life is not so bad. So I think the digital nomad thing, if you can do it for maybe 6 months to a year, is a great learning experience. But I would have to say that after that year, you're going to get sick of it, and the main reason for that is just loneliness. I'm very thankful that the people that I talk the most with also kind of live a similar lifestyle to me, or my best friend is working in Houston right now, but we're always playing video games together. We can always maintain that contact and that friendship, and he's the main friend that I've had this whole entire time that I've been traveling. Over the last 5 years, I've met hundreds of people everywhere in the world, and I have to say that I've only really maintained contact with maybe like 3 or 4 of them, and everybody else is just passing blips in my life. Now, I do have to say that there are certain people that I met in my travels that really had a huge impact on me, changed the way that I viewed the world. I would even say changed the future of my life, because they were the ones that gave me the idea that I can go to another country, restart my life from zero, live this amazing adventure that has been the last 5 years. One of the plus sides though is that I've been able to meet people from everywhere, and now I have friends everywhere in the world. I've had some of the best memories in all of these places around the world with people that I met at hostels. But as I get older, I much more value deep, meaningful relationships with the same people rather than going out and having to meet a bunch of new people. And I'm gonna be honest, it does get really exhausting after a while. Maybe it's different because I have a YouTube channel, so I don't not only meet people in my travels, but also tons of people who I met online. I never thought I would say this. After all of these travels and adventures, now the thing that I really crave the most is stability. And that's why being here in Poland, a lot of people ask me, oh, you know, are you gonna see a lot of these Eastern European countries? Are you gonna live anywhere else? Yeah, I like the idea of it, but honestly, I'm so sick and tired of moving that I kind of just want to stay in one place and build relationships and, you know, build my life again. I really experienced that stability when I was married, which is why it was such a blow to me when I had to go through that whole divorce and everybody turned on me, because I felt like I really established myself. I had some roots, I had some really good relationships with people in Colombia. The fact that that was all thrown away and I was back to being alone, it was a really harsh experience. When I was in Southeast Asia for 6 months being by myself, it was a time that I needed to really self-reflect on all the mistakes that I made leading up to the divorce. But it was a really lonely journey. I got to visit all these places, try all of these amazing food, meet a bunch of really great people, but it feels like something is missing. And after seeing a couple of beaches in Southeast Asia, all of them blend together and they're all kind of the same. And I found myself when I would travel to a new country not really wanting to do any of the tourist stuff. After a couple weeks, you settle into your regular routine and life, and it just becomes really mentally exhausting trying to go to a new place with a new culture, with a new language, trying to find grocery store, getting a new SIM card, and trying to adjust to a new way of life. So that's why I think most people should really reconsider this whole digital nomad thing. Even though you're gonna learn a lot about yourself, it's a very lonely, and I would even argue superficial life. I think my experience in Colombia was so unique because I dove headfirst into the culture, I learned the language, and I really immersed myself into that lifestyle for 3.5 years. And I really got such a rich cultural experience from it, and I really learned a lot about myself. I was put through so many difficult trials that really allowed me to grow and be a better person on the other side of it. But I don't think it's for everybody. And now I really understand why people who grew up in my hometown never really left there, and they still have the same friends from high school. After experiencing all of that by myself, honestly, now I really prioritize relationship and I want to share that with somebody. Something I don't really understand about the US and, you know, this whole dating culture now is that we're constantly preaching, you know, be single, at the sign of any red flag, drop that person and just go and live your life and don't get married and all that stuff. And I can understand the mentality behind it. Doing all of these things in life and constantly experiencing all of these things by yourself is cool for a little bit, but at the end of the day, I think it's a much better experience when you can share it with somebody. And the only way to really get a very meaningful, deep relationship is to be in a place for a very long time. So I guess if you're trying to do the whole digital nomad thing, it's cool traveling to see what areas you like, but after 6 months to a year, I highly recommend people picking one place and trying to settle down there for a year or 2 years so you can really establish friendships and relationships with people. I always found it funny that every time I would travel to a new place, if I'm visiting for a few days, I do all of the touristy stuff, but when I'm actually living in a place, I almost never do any of the tourist stuff. Because I think when you're in the mentality of trying to like get your life in order, it's a completely different mentality to just traveling. My big recommendation is that if you ever get the opportunity, in your 20s, definitely travel the world when you still have the energy and you still have that adventurous spirit. But as I approach 30, I see the value in stability and just wanting to be in one place, go to the same restaurants that I like, hang out with the people that I love and I know I'll have a good time with. And I think there is a lot of value to that. I also find it interesting that the more that I meet people from other cultures and other places in the world, the more I find myself missing people who are like me. Specifically like Asian people. I connect quite well with Polish people and we have very similar cultures. And I've been thinking about this a lot, like what do I want from a long-term partner? I think it would work with a Slavic girl because there are a lot of very good examples of that relationship being successful. But really thinking about it, I think I would really like to be with somebody who's half Asian or has Asian roots, because it just makes things so much less complicated. And it's so funny that after I traveled the world and I met all these people and learned all these things about myself and the world, I kind of just want to go back to my roots and be with somebody and people that I'm super comfortable with and know how I grew up. Meeting new people and experiencing different cultures definitely has like a romantic honeymoon phase where everything is new to you and everything is great. But after things settle down, you start to realize the pluses and minuses of everywhere in the world. I think being in a relationship that has the least amount of conflict is going to be with somebody that shares your same culture. I still highly encourage people to travel and to live this digital nomad lifestyle for a while. But if I'm being honest, I think most people are gonna get sick of it after a few months and are gonna wanna go back to their home and to their stability of their life. And I never understood that before, but now I totally get it and I can respect it. Peace.